There's more potato chips.
No, Rob, I got it wrong. The Tales from the Classroom, I clicked on it a little while ago, and it's that the campaign is no longer going. Because I was like, wait, what was that? I remember seeing that. Okay, that's what it is. But I'm on the mailing list because I love this. It's like half the fun for me is meeting creators and then buying their book and then getting their book and then talking to them about it. Like Brian's book was one of the very first ones. It might have been the first one I backed many others, but before I was on the, in the creator game myself. I think Brian's might have been the first, and I was very impressed. He set a high bar.
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
It's great, man. It's great. And I love the art, and it's a shame because you don't have this artist anymore, right? Like you sort of had a parting of ways.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah. If you're looking at, depends on what images you're looking at. So if you're looking at the campaign right now, and like what's in the video, that was a French artist named Tonton, and he was never doing the interior pages. He and I were concepting the book a while back, and then he got a job at Riot, and then he said, I make $200,000 a year and I'm not doing comics anymore. And I understand. And so then I started with another artist for the interior pages, and unfortunately just with his scheduling complications, he's a really great guy. He's done work for me in the board game space, and he just fell behind, and he had this unfortunately had a really bad health problem come up with his stomach, and he just wasn't able to complete the book. And so Jason Kreger is the artist now, who is a machine, and is awesome and is super committed and has been doing a page a day every single day.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
I wish I had that kind of I'm lucky if I get like a page a week with my artists.
Well, like in the case of Preston Acevedo is going to be doing like the next issue of Six Gun. I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna have to like kidnap him, lock him in my basement, beat him with a bicycle chain. He'll get food. If he finishes like a page a day. If he doesn't, he gets the hose.
Yeah, so it's a tricky thing, right? Because there's artists that have. Oh, Brian, check this out, dude.
What you got?
Oh, if we got to go live, Drew, we can talk about it on camera.
We are live.
We are live.
We're live.
Okay.
Hey, VIP, what's up, buddy?
What up, everybody in the chat?
Woo!
What's going on?
We are live, baby. We are live.
Yeah, we are.
We're live.
Hell yeah.
I got Salty here on my desk. He was sleeping.
Oh.
He wasn't very happy about Dorian being so close to him. So I don't know if you guys saw it, but he kept swatting at Dorian.
I could see that there was a little feline drama going on there.
It's funny because Shane Davis has this book out, Starlight Cats, and one of the perks is you can pay and have your cat in the book, not you, but your cat in the book.
Yeah.
And I thought that was epic. And I was thinking of you, Drew. As soon as I read that, I'm like, I wonder if Drew is going to be that guy who gets his cat in that book.
Probably not, but yeah.
Yeah, because you'd have to choose from like 36, right?
Depending if you're counting outside cats too, yeah.
Oh, it would have to be Pepper Potts.
Hey, Lothar, sure. Lothar, what's
D? What's up, dude?
Yeah. Pepper Potts would be very, very identifiable. But so would Dot, and so would Grizabella. But it like Grizz, she's right now, she's hilarious because she'll sleep like, how like when cats will sleep and they're like, they seem like they're just tense and they'll wake up to anything. Mm-hmm. Then there's cats that when they sleep, they sleep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Grizz is one of those. She's got like her head turned up. She's all, she's a gray tuxie with the spots on her nose.
Aww. Yeah, nothing more relaxed than a relaxed cat. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, exactly, man. But in all seriousness, how many cats do you have? Because there's plenty, right?
There's plenty. I try not to disclose publicly how many I have in the house.
Okay.
Thank you for letting my guest back, Salty.
Brian, I got something to show you. I think this might be a good kickoff here. So, Brian, check this out. Cool. Speaking of artists and pages a day, this team that's doing, your story for the Kill Journal. Check this out.
Oh, so I can officially talk about this now.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk. Well, it's gonna go live tomorrow at 5:30 in the morning LA time. So
all right,
we can do a little teaser. So look at this. So these are some of your pages here. This is Maxi Dallo, who works traditionally, so can't quite work as fast. And this is Mike Spicer on colors, who did Wonder Woman and Murder Falcon, and I think he's of the best. So it's like, look what your kind of like your pages became, right?
Oh wow!
Which I think did real justice to like this your script, right? Like this awesome page with him hanging on the tire and the chain around it.
Wow!
And that whole bit is pretty spectacular.
Amazing, man.
Dude, seriously, I saw the black and white pages, and I was like, I don't know that my script is good enough for this art. It's really spectacular, man. This guy is amazing.
No, it's so great because it's like Maxi gave it, such the lines and the way he draws his characters have just there's slight a caricature, right? They're just a little cartoonish.
Yeah, a little exaggerated.
A little exaggerated, but in a way that makes it fun and is like a nice counterbalance to the horror, right?
Yeah.
And then Mike Spicer did such a great job of creating like your dingy world, but then accenting it with like the purple windows, right?
Yes.
Something just to make it once again be more fun on the page, or you just even see like the way he puts like this little blue bottle in, puts the blues here to like help give it life.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is a great duo, and this for anyone.
Well, it's a very rusty sort of overall look, but then it has those accentuating colors, man. That it is a comic book after all,
Right.
Yes, that's right. Right. It totally is, and it's like, and I really love it because I feel like so instead of the world getting so lost in the dinginess of it, I think what's fun about horror can also have a little bit of fun to it. And so I think that helped it still like maintain that energy. So your words, Brian, are getting, this is just a few of the pages, are getting some great work. But yeah, so because in the Kill Journal, Rob, and if anyone doesn't know it, there is the 88-page graphic novel, which is what's, that's the centerpiece of it. But then there's these other little dossier stories that are in the back that we're hoping to unlock. And they are these little origin tales about our heroes and the night they were attacked. And so Brian and I have been talking about his story world, and he came up with this really cool revenant called Mr. Crispy, which seems to be everyone's favorite, by the way, Brian, because they love the name. They love the name Mr. Crispy.
I love that. Yeah, for sure.
And Mr. Crispy, let me see if I got a good Mr. Crispy image.
What up, Simon? Mr. Poitier.
Hey, man.
I'm finally at it now. I've been in the back for a while.
You're roboting slightly, my Quebecois friend.
How am I now?
Smooth and sexy, a little bit like, a little bit little Barry White.
Yeah, so here's our.
Great singer.
Hey, Sam, how you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
Good.
Yeah, the two of you are finally on a stream together. Yay!
We were before.
Okay.
We did one before, and
one.
I read his book as well.
Which is a buttload of fun.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Thanks.
Yeah, man, that's another. I was discussing with Drew that I have his book sitting downstairs in a pile of which the Sims book is also a part of because I want to do like a big video where like I open them all up and maybe that's vaguely interesting content. I don't know. I have to like fill my channel with something.
Oh, dude.
But anyway, I'm very excited to read both of yours books.
No, thanks.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's like the fun of it. I every night before I go to bed, I read, right? My wife will go on Instagram or she'll watch a TV show and I read a comic book. And so it's like at least a half an hour a night. And what's fun about that is like if you're doing it every single night, you just plow through so much content, and it's a way to like suck in what everybody's making. Because I feel like the shame of it is like, I remember back in the day, sometimes you'd have a big stack of comics. There's nothing sadder than a big stack of unread comics,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like a bunch of stuff you've talked about, but it isn't stuff you've like tasted, right?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's like a pizza that you haven't eaten or a steak that's just sitting there uneaten. It's like, it's not that great, actually. A steak just sitting on your shelf isn't awesome. It's when it's in your mouth, right? And so it's like, I feel like that's like the real taste of the comics, like when you're just kind of swimming in that world and reading pages. And sure, not every book is going to be The Watchmen, but it doesn't need to be a really like great read and a special experience, you know. And so that's what I felt about like Six Gun Gorilla. It's like this cool Western with this odd conscience because of this gorilla that's in it that brings like this heart to this tale. And it's like, it's a great read. And that's just, anyways, that's what I love about this world, is actually reading them.
Yeah,
You too.
for sure, Ben. Yeah, that's
And-
one I've had. Brian's is actually one of the books I've had the opportunity to read, and I was not disappointed. In fact, I wouldn't say it exceeded my expectations, because having met Brian, you could tell he was a talented guy, and very learned, and but you know, I did enjoy it very much, for sure. And I can't, you know, one of these days maybe we can do like some kind of crossover, because I have my own big ape in my
God, yeah.
universe, in Tales
Oh,
from the Classroom.
I'd love to. Oh,
Yeah, his name's Principal Kong. Maybe we could have a Principal Kong Six Gun Gorilla
Six Gun Gorilla
showdown.
crossover. Oh God.
Maybe Principal Kong.
You could do that
maybe,
when he learns to sign language.
I'll say that Principal Kong could be, you know, a big fan of Six Gun Gorilla, because you know what I mean. Like maybe he reads it and then he has like
That's
some kind
true,
of
man.
dream.
That's
of
actually a great idea. Maybe we could have
Oh,
Principal
man.
Kong like reading a pulp of Six Gun Gorilla, and
Right. Oh man, yeah. No, you guys are way too kind. But yeah, no, I really got such a kick out of Tales from the Classroom. That's a book that I am proud to say I was an early champion of. When super early. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're like my third backer. Like I don't know what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you know, I mean, monsters. Hello, I'm like the monster guy, right? So it's like,
Love them.
and it's like, you know, Tales from the Classroom. It's, you know, about a high school full of monsters set in a alternate universe where monsters are commonplace and humans, I think, are just sort of like a myth, right?
Yeah, like scary stories they tell each other.
Right. And you know, I mean, I was expecting it to be good. I was hoping for it to be good, but when I got it, I was so impressed by the quality of that book. You know, I mean, clearly, I mean, it's an all ages book, and we need more of that. So it had sort of like this young adult feel, but it, you know, you never felt like it was talking down to you, right?
Right.
I think that's the worst thing you could do is when you're making any kind of literature or any kind of fiction, any kind of entertainment for young people, is if you're like condescending or talking down to them. You don't want to talk down to kids. You want to talk up to kids.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that that you felt that. It's a tough balance to nail. And in the second one, in the second one, I would say it skews a bit older. I wouldn't say it delves into darker themes so much, but it's just the humor is a bit more elevated, and I think that it's going to appeal to people like us, you know, our age group. Much more so than the first one.
Also, just a beautiful looking book. Colors are fantastic. The I don't know who the printer was. It was somebody in Portugal, I'm assuming, right?
No, not really. It's somebody in the UK. Mixum.
Oh no shit. Oh, it was Mixum. No kidding. Yeah, it was. And beautiful colors, and then also it came with a bunch of little prints. See, this is my Comicsgate box right here. My indie comics box. You know, in case I'm on a stream and we're talking about somebody's book, I could just grab it,
pop it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I actually can't find the actual book, but I found the prints.
That's fantastic.
We were showing these off Michael Bancroft's show.
Yeah, I mean, they're so
Rob,
glossy.
Rob, can you mean?
I feel
Oh,
like
sorry.
they're staring into my soul, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. They're shiny.
Yeah.
They're,
So, Rob,
they're
can
very
you-
shiny.
Can you give me the story of it? I don't think so can you kind of give me the picture? What is this story about? Because the art's incredible. And like Brian was saying, I love all ages books. I just plowed through Bigfoot Bill, 2 volumes of it, and I just loved it. You know, what is it that, like, what's your tale about?
So the main story of the book, it's about this. So I think Brian already said it. So this takes place in a world where only monsters exist and humans don't exist. And the book opens up with Rob, who's this zombie, and he attends this all zombie high school named Romero High.
Of
And
course,
there
he does.
he's sort of like the Ferris Bueller of zombies. Like, he can do no wrong. He's the number 1 most popular kid in school. Everyone loves him. He can get away with murder, everything. But then one day, his dad gets a promotion and the family has to move to the big city, and he transfers over to this high school called Cthulhu High, which is a multi-species high school with vampires and wolfmen and everything you can imagine, all sorts of creatures. And then he very quickly, he gets a rude awakening when he realizes that zombies are perceived as bottom of the social heap, basically. And he gets treated like dirt by everyone,
Wow.
especially by Drake, who's Cthulhu High's own most popular quantity. And he's this Nosferatu vampire who just has a bone to pick for some reason with zombies. He has a pet peeve against zombies, and he zeroes in on Rob and chooses to make his existence as miserable as possible.
The way that I thought of him, and the best way I could describe that character is that he's the William Zabka of Cthulhu High.
Okay.
Does everybody remember William Zabka? He was like he always played the quintessential 80s douche, right? So he was like the bad guy, like the bully in the Karate Kid.
Okay.
Back to School. Just One of the Guys.
Right.
Which is right, like just like the epitome of like the 80s douche. And yeah, so yeah. That's how I thought of Drake.
Mega douche. Yeah, that's what we were trying to go for. And nothing in the process, he befriends this kid named Eddie, who's a wolfman, and they sort of become inseparable, and they get up to a whole lot of hijinks together.
Ah.
And the second book, it's going to be the continuation of the first story. You're going to get that, but also, because I've already taken the time to introduce the universe and the premise and everything, and a lot of the characters, we're gonna be doing short stories based on a lot of these characters. Like, for instance, you're looking at a pinup here with Cletus the mummy. He's the school bus driver.
I love this. I mean, this is an amazing pinup
great?
piece. It's so cool. Yeah, it's just like it's set it all in one image, right? It's just like, ooh, I want to figure out what's going on with that bus.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, he's just like a completely crazy driver, like a reckless driver, right?
Right.
But he's a very mysterious sort of figure. And we decided to do a short story on him called The Tale of Cleotep that delves into his past.
Oh,
because the thing is, he's a mummy, right? And there's like sort of like there's a pecking order in the monster universe, right? And mummies are pretty high up there. And it's odd.
Mummies made it to the top.
Yeah,
well, because they're royalty, right?
Yeah, but it's
like
true.
It's not always this. It's not like a hard rule, but it's not common to see a mummy like slumming it as a school bus driver, and they're usually higher up in the social pecking order. So this is we're trying to figure out like how did Cletus end up in this position, and the guy that put together the script you may be familiar with because he was supposed to be a part of the stream, I think, is Von Klaus, our dear Von Klaus, who's an extremely talented writer, and is a collaborator on Monster MD. Marco McCagney. He's the one that did the pencils for this. I think you're fantastic.
Oh, it's beautiful. And I just wanted to say really quick that Von Klaus couldn't be with us because he needed to go to a drive-in double feature of Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2: Dead by Dawn. So we understand. He made, he made the right choice. Let's face it.
He made the right choice. He did.
Yeah, you can't blame him.
That's a pretty epic driving experience.
Yeah, man.
So Rob, what's kind of, would you say, like, because it's an all ages, so what's like the horror element of it? I mean, I know there's monsters, but like, what's the scare?
I mean, it's, in terms of horror, it's not like you're going to be soiling your pants reading this, you know.
Sure.
But it does draw from all the horror, literature and films and everything that have sort of like become ingrained in our minds over the years. All the iconography of horror is there.
So
but it's not meant to scare you. It's more of like a high school tale. Like I said, it's like a Ferris Bueller or like a Revenge of the Nerds, but with in a monstrous context.
Whimsical.
What would you say would be like the horror, if there's a horror comic or a specific a set of horror movies or horror genre that really kind of inspired what's going on here? Because obviously you chose monsters for a reason. Yeah,
there's all sorts of different inspirations, but I would say that just the title itself is a clue to one of its inspirations, which is Tales from the Crypt. It's an homage to Tales from the Crypt, and in fact, in this second book that we're doing, I was just talking about these short stories. We're sort of embracing that element because we want to turn this into an anthology book where you get the main story, but it's but alongside with it, you get a number of like supplemental stories, so that the book is an anthology. You get like it used to be with Tales from the Crypt. So we're sort of modeling the next few books on that, and every subsequent book from now.
Oh, very cool.
Just to talk about some maybe interesting vampire lore that we're all into, and I know that this is the theme of tonight's stream. There's several different vampire species. In the book, we don't really delve into it, but it's sort of like my headcanon. This yellow dude over here that you're seeing, he's a Mormos, which is a real vampire species. But in my world, they're sort of like these really pudgy, they have their own characteristics, but they all look yellow and usually bald and a little on the fat side. They were inspired by Pearl of Blade. You know Pearl?
Yes, of course. Yeah, played by Eric Edwards. Yeah.
Is that played by anyone? Oh wow! I just thought that was a weird creature that they.
No, there was an actor under all that.
Yeah, but I thought it was a really striking image, that vampire, just like this really like massive vampire that doesn't move from its.
What was he, like a records keeper or something? It was just a glutton.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he was the keeper of the vampire archives.
Yeah,
exactly. And then you have another vampire that's another vampire species who's sort of like the romantic interest of Rob. Rob falls for her very quickly, and she dates Drake, right? Anyway, her name is Eliza, and she's part of this vampire species called the Strigoi. And they have their own characteristics as well. I don't want to reveal too much. I want you to discover them in the actual book. And then finally you have the Nosferatu, which typically are like really gnarly looking creatures and normal vampire lore. But in this universe, they're sort of like the oldest and most regal, most powerful vampire species. They're like purple with white hair. And a weird looking nose, ultra sensitive nose, so sensitive some of them like shave it off, like sort of like as if they were being circumcised, they choose to take it off. But yeah,
they choose.
Oh man.
That is where the horror comes from. The circumcision. That's where the horror comes from.
Exactly.
I was asking
That's
for it,
it.
Rob, and you took a while for you to get there, but I see it now. I see it now. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a really fun book. I highly recommend the first one. Now, are people going to be able to, I'm hoping, Rob, that people are going to be able to get
Okay.
the first volume with this new one, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I have to be crazy not to. I want people to
I
I
know.
don't want like anybody to feel like they were missing out.
Yes.
And this is the
I'm-
opportunity for you to not miss out. Oh, that's another short story that we're doing.
Oh, the Golem, yes.
The one about Joshua the Golem.
Yes.
And it's the art is being done by Matt Krotz. I wrote it, but Matt Krotz is doing the art, and Matt Krotz is like a really amazing a creator. He has his own book, which he pencils, and he does everything for. He's one of those polymath types, and nothing. I was so I admired him so much that like I got in touch with him, and I thought that his style would suit this particular character quite well. And he was down with the basic premise and collaborating, and so we're doing this story together, and I'm very excited for it. The
Wonderful.
third story is that we're doing it. There's no space for me to feature it here in the mailing list page, but it's a story it's the continuation of something that some of the contributors of the first book got a glimpse of this story, but only if they contributed in the highest perk tier. Sorry, I'm a little distracted because I hear my kid crying downstairs.
Oh, that's okay.
Ah,
We get it, dude. It's all good.
So anyway, it's like the continuation of this story, which is it's a story that's going to be running along the length of Tales from the Classroom. Sort of like that pirate story that Alan Moore had in Watchmen.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
runs
that.
along the
Yeah.
entire length of Watchmen. I
Yes.
want to do that, but like it's the story of Cain Thulu, who's the mysterious founder of the school, who's obviously like an homage to Cthulhu. And the person that's doing the art is this guy named Alejandro Mirabal, who's one of the most talented artists,
Wow.
I would say, in indie comics. And he's doing Long Harbor, which is a fantastic looking book.
That book looks epic.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's amazing.
Yeah, he's doing that. But we're only doing it was 2 pages that I featured in the first one,
Right.
and then in this one I'm gonna have like 3 pages, and then in the next one I
we
might
need
have
more.
3 or 4, but it's always gonna
We
be
need
in
more.
that range.
That's so cool, dude.
That's pretty rad.
Yeah, you're really thinking ahead with this series, aren't you?
Let's give the video a watch. Let's see.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a trailer for the first one though, so
High school is a nightmare, especially if you're the new kid and a zombie. Hi there, humans. I'm Rob Muerto, and this is my story. Tales from the Classroom, a fun post-mortem romp following everyone's favorite teenage zombie, me. As I struggle to adapt to my new school, find love, fight off blood-sucking bullies, and keep all my body parts intact. Back in Romero High, my previous all-zombie school, I was the most popular kid around. But after transferring to Cthulhu High, a multi-species school whose students include vampires and wolfmen and everything else that goes bump in the night, I've had to come to terms with being at the bottom of the proverbial social heap. As a zombie or pulse-challenged individual, I have fought to get my voice heard in a world populated with monsters of all shapes, creeds, and sizes, all of whom seem to think zombies are beneath them. That's where Tales from the Classroom comes in. It's a premium quality 41-page comic featuring frightfully awesome pencils by Sebastian Barnico with inks blacker than my bile, courtesy of Juan Castro, eye-popping colors by Matthias Lombard, and letters by Lucas Gattoni. So good, it may actually spook you. Additionally, you get a story My story, written by none other than yours truly, and a handful of pinups created by an assortment of top-tier talent, ranging from Monster MD's Marco McCagney and Tanya Wicker, Invisible's John Roush, and the mysterious Wonder Boy talent only is Tad Lambert. So what are you waiting for, human? Can you help a zombie out? Thanks so much, mortals. You know what? You guys are all right. I heard bad things, but I think you're okay.
Yeah, you know whose voice that is, right?
That's Von Klaus, man.
He's
very much in high demand when it comes to doing voiceovers for trailers.
Really? I didn't know that. At the
Yeah,
time,
yeah. Because of this, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's cool, man.
Yeah,
At the time,
everybody.
it was sort of like a gamble, but then he blew my socks off with his attempt. It's funny because
It's great.
you'll see that he says Invisibles John Roush. It's actually Invincibles John Roush, but I was like, all right, whatever. Let's just keep it that way.
Invisibles works for the theme, though.
All right.
So everybody who's watching right now, there's a link in the chat. Get into that Tales of the Classroom. Get yourself on this mailing list. So when it launches, you can be one of the first ones to get your book, pre-ordered and ready to come to you. So,
thank you, man. And one thing that we should impress upon people is that if you sign up to the mailing list and you buy a copy of the book, you'll get a free pinup with it. So I think that's a good deal. Don't miss out on it. Plus, you get notified of when the actual campaign is going to launch and all sorts of exclusive content that I've been sending my mailing list. So jump on it now.
Most definitely. Yeah, it's a great book.
I am there. I vouch for that. I'm on it myself. It feels good.
Oh, cool,
I need some kid zombies. I
love it. Thanks, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
And douchey like vampire William Zabka.
Exactly. I'm so glad. By the way,
the vampire is always the douchebag in the story, right? They're either
because they're at the top of the monster class system, right?
All right, of the food chain, yeah.
Yeah. Because they're usually members of the nobility. They drink blood. They tend to be very regal, and then you got werewolves or more working class, and then at the bottom, of course, you have the zombies who have really bad body odor and terrible table manners.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, Drew, I'm so glad that you put this stream together because now I get to hear about this about the. What's your name again? I don't want to use your hashtag. What's your actual name?
Adam.
All right, cool, man. So Adam's book, which looks fantastic. I hadn't heard of it. I've tried sort of out of the space for a little bit. I'm just getting back in the game now with the promotion for.
Yeah, we've had Adam on a couple of times. I don't know if I think we had him on. When he first introduced this book, had him on Horror
That's
Talk.
Right.
So it's kind of like people who watch this show have been following the release of this book, and there's probably a half dozen people or so that are like, release it already. Well, good news.
Yeah.
It launches tomorrow.
It launches tomorrow.
Oh,
so
it does
it can all
launch
happen. It does. And so, and here's a fun thing to see. Now the pages are obviously all colored. It's not a black and white book. But I've been sending so much concept art out, and I've also been hiring tons of commission work to promote the book. And but Jason Krager, who I mentioned, has come on board. Who's the epic artist. He did The Darkness at Evangeline for Top Cow back in the day.
Oh wow!
And so he's a quite a veteran. So I want to share this screen with you here.
Hell yeah!
Just so you can see these lines that he kicks out at a page a day. So these are the first, just a handful of pages of the book before they're colored and lettered. I do all the lettering as well. And you can just see the amount of lines he's dropping per page and the way, the drama of what this is and the way he sets up the scene. And, he and I had gone through the rounds quite a bit. And then literally he's been making this book without roughs, if you can imagine.
Oh my God!
This speed. So he and I we talk about he and I talk every day, and he'll we'll go over panels and thoughts on it, and I'll pitch out some ideas to him, and then I just get this at the end of the day.
Oh my gosh!
And then, maybe we'll make a few tweaks.
What?
And then
That's
we'll
fantastic, man.
We'll just keep going. And so,
dude, this guy does this at like at a rate of a page a day. This guy's like some kind of prodigy.
He's a one of a kind. Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, he's the real deal. And it's like, and I love it because his pages are kind of dirty and and feel like they're in our world, right? And his lines are so cool. And I'm somebody who, like, for example, like on Shinobi Sasquatch, I got the book and the black and white version because I'm someone who really enjoys lines. Not everyone does, but I do. Yeah. And so, and you can tell in our story is set around the idea of revenants. Some people use the expression slashers, but revenants is a broader term for these creatures of horror. And the Kill Journal is essentially the tale that happens after the horror movie ends, right? After the slasher has come through and killed all your friends and family and burned your house down, what do you do with your life? And so these straggling survivors from these different revenant attacks, they decide that revenge is what they're going to do with their lives, because they can't pick up the pieces, and the heroes of our story have guilt tied into it. Sydney, this is our sort of our point of view character that first gets involved with this group that's led by this preacher here, St. George. She feels some guilt because her daughter was killed, but the reason her daughter was killed is because she took her with her to a cabin in the woods to meet this guy at a party, and she left her daughter in the car, right? So this guilt hangs on her for what she did, and so it can't be resolved because she was a victim, but she's a little bit guilty herself, or at least feels that. And so she gets, and so St. George here, he runs these support groups for people who have survived, so to speak, horror movies or survived a revenant attack. And they're here confessing, kind of like at an AA meeting or any other sort of support group. And but he conducts these so he can recruit people who have what it takes to go and kill these things. And so, and in this image, you can kind of see here some of our principals cast. Our girl here on the left with the headphones, that's Marty Tanaka, whose dad used to build bombs in the basement, and she was his chemistry assistant. And then she got mad at her dad one day, like teenagers do, and she enacted an urban myth that ended up not killing the woman in her dad's life, but her dad. And so she's got her guilt too that she's living with. And she's always got a lighter because she's always got a tennis ball hand grenade. And some of these other folks in it are people who St. George is sort of questioning to see if they have what it takes. And this beautiful page here, which is one of my favorites. As you can see, this is her flashback right here, right, to like the night her daughter was killed, and then ultimately Sydney was killed, and the doctors brought her back. And then while this is going on, a revenant actually attacks the support group. And some people run, and some people run, and some people fight, right? And the ones who fight are the people that St. George recruits into the club, his survivors club. So these are the cool lineup images.
So sorry, is that Adam? Is that a test that St. George puts together, or does this?
It's coincidental. It's coincidental.
Okay.
Because the thing about these revenants is once you're on their hit list, they keep coming back, right? They keep showing back up in your life, and so. It's not that he specifically designed it this way, but he knows it's actually not safe for them all to be together as a group. And he's using it as a sort of a bait and recruitment mechanism. He doesn't intend for it to go this bad, but revenants are tricky things. And so he recruits what become his survivors. And you can see these pages here. Here's a fun way to see them. All colored. There's many more, but these are the ones we're promoting now. And then here become, after Steve Cannon colors them, they begin to look like this.
Beautiful.
Oh, nice.
Beautiful.
And so this is St. George, and this is the night he was attacked. And he's got his son there.
Who's doing your colors, man?
A guy named Steve Cannon.
Oh, I know.
He did Jack Irons. Yeah, he's super great.
Yeah.
Super great. And works, I think he just really captures what this book is, and really complements Jason's lines, you know. And I like that we leave a lot of the lines in.
Yeah.
But but so this is, you know, St. George, and he's so bereaved here. He's trying to put his son's head back together because he's so in shock of what's happened. But then this is what happens after Steve does his magic on them.
Beautiful.
Right? And they start to have
Gorgeous.
a real, yeah, right? He does something really special.
And he preserves all that beautiful line work.
Right?
Yep.
I think that's kind of key, right? Like in the coloring of it, at least for me, right, that you let the lines show through as much as you can.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah. And so this is and then here's the crazy attack. And so what's really fun about our tale is not only do our heroes have their own origins and stories, our revenants each have their own creation myth, if you will, right? Because they're a vengeful spirit that's back from the dead, a revenant isn't something that you can kill with a gun or the car, right? Because even if you run them over, even if you throw them in a meat grinder,
they keep coming back.
They come back because they're not actually a physical manifestation, they're a spiritual manifestation. So until you solve the spiritual problem, the physical side never stops coming. And so that's part of the tale, is figuring out what is the spiritually broken part. Like, what was the events that created this revenant? How do they bring them back to that moment of trauma themselves and figure out how to set up a trap? In the same way that Jason Voorhees, right? You got to take him to Camp Crystal Lake and drown him. This is how you have to take out a revenant. You have to figure out their past and you know, attack them spiritually with it, if you will.
Yeah, it's such a great concept, man. I just love that to pieces. You know, I was explaining that to a friend of mine the other day who is like a real heavy duty slasher fan. And
cool.
And he just loves that concept to bits. You know, we've all seen the horror films with the Juggernaut, the unkillable killer that just keeps coming, and this creates a mythology around them and that genre, and it also puts a lot of deep human drama into it. You know, the way I always describe this is it's like a slasher movie with a conscience.
Right. I think that's the right way to say it, because you know, it's emotional side of the coin, right? Is that it's that it is at its emotional core. It's about people trying to cope with trauma.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really our underpinning story, and what becomes of people under extreme trauma. Right. And so this is a fun image that was done by Preston, as we were talking about him earlier. Who's really doing some really special cover work. So this is also colored by Mike Spicer, and this is a week 1 print. So everybody who backs it this coming week from Tuesday to Tuesday gets this print for free. It'll be a cool, beautiful embossed print that will be really. It'll just be for the original few who get on board.
Oh hell yeah!
This has a very Bisley looking. It's got a Simon Bisley tone to it.
Oh yeah,
I know,
Preston's
right?
a big fan of the Biz.
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
You can tell.
Yeah.
No, it looks fantastic.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you. I feel like, you know, with the campaign, you want to give people things that are special, right? That make it worth backing a campaign versus just
buying something, like picking up something off the rack. You know, this is
exactly.
Yep.
That's exactly right. I feel like that's so an important thing, and I think that you know, here, if you look at this, this is what I wanted to do to take it even one step farther here is that, the book essentially delivers in a faux leather bound hardcover.
Beautiful.
So it's this beautiful, because the St. George in the story keeps a record of all the revenants they kill and the mysteries behind them. And this is the book he keeps them in. It's like this old Catholic Bible is the feeling, right? And so he's been recording all what they're doing. And this is a copy of what he has in the comic itself. So it's kind of like you have your own kill journal. And then what I thought would be fun is I layered into this design. It's a little tricky to see it, I'm sure, here on the stream. Some symbols in this that then are actually in the story as well. And they tie in a fun way. So there's a little bit to discover in the cover that ties into what's happening in the book.
But yeah, you can tell. Like,
I could barely make. I could kind of make it out.
It's like
it's a little tricky. Let me see if I can. Let me just export this here at. Actually, no, I've got this here in Photoshop. Let me just bring this into. So if you can,
there it is.
You can start to see it now.
Oh, that's so freaking cool.
You start to see, it's one of these tricky things that, like, on a slow res screen isn't so great, but like when you get it in your hand, it'll all be really clear. So you can see all this level of detail.
It's amazing
in the books. Yeah. And then you can see, here's the back of the book with the eye.
Oh man.
And here's and so we built all these really fun things, and I tried to give it like a Catholic influence without it being negative in any way to the Catholic faith, but to give us that feel, that this guy is is a priest, is sort of his background. So that's, as like you're saying, Rob, like if you want to back something because it's something you can't get at your local comic book shop, right? That's what makes it fun, is that you get that thing that you can't get anywhere else. I remember going to a board game cafe here in Burbank, and it was such a cool thing. And they had all these minis for this game, and I also had a copy of that game, but I didn't have all those minis.
Right.
But they backed it on Kickstarter, and they got the exclusive perk that gave them these 20 minis or whatever that were only available in the campaign. And I was just like, dang, I didn't get those.
Yup.
My version doesn't have that. He's like, no, you had to get it this way. And you're just like the envy comes up. You're like, man, that's right. That's the thing.
Yeah, man. And then you go on eBay looking for people that are selling those.
That's right. You get desperate.
Yeah, you do.
You come home and you're like, I'm so bummed I didn't get in on that.
Right, right.
It's why I back so many campaigns, because I'm like, this is probably the time I'm going to be able to get this in this life, right? And so I'm going to get this, because I don't want to be that guy at the cafe anymore. Like, how come mine doesn't have that? I want to have the thing. So
how many pages is the Kill Journal going to be?
So it's 88 pages is the central story, and then there's 24 other pages we're trying to unlock during the campaign, and there's 4 6-page mini stories, our dossier section, if you will, where St. George is included these little tales of the night each one of our hero characters, our survivors, was attacked by a revenant. One of those written by the one and only Brian Kriskow, right here, ladies and gentlemen. He I think has one of my favorite tales about Finch. I'll let you pitch your tale, Mr. El Santo.
Well, it's first of all, dude, I was so honored that you asked me to write that story. And what Adam did was, he sent me like the dossier, right? A little bit about the book and the concept art and that stuff. Made sure top secret. And so I was looking at all the different characters, and he was like, would you like to write a story for one of these characters? I was like, hell yeah. And the character that he assigned to me was the character that I was crossing my fingers for, who is Finch. Finch is basically a young man who was raised as a dog from about the age of 8. His father was a sociopath and a sadist who was a part of a dogfighting ring. And one night, the dog couldn't perform because his son didn't do what he was supposed to do, which is keep the dog healthy. And so he threw Finch into the ring to fight the dog in its place, and he won. And his father started training him to fight dogs, and he started treating him like one of the dogs, keeping him in a cage, putting him through a very intense training regimen. I normally really enjoy doing research for projects. It's one of my favorite things, right? Like Adam, you read the Tequila Moonrise, right? I read 3 books on the Aztecs before I wrote that. And that you're going to only
Which
use
is a
maybe.
very cool script, by the way.
Thank you.
And we're going to need to bring that character into the Kill Journal world to fight a monster. Anyways, keep going.
Oh, dude, that would be so awesome. And thank you so much for reading it and giving me notes. Salutation to you, sir. But where was I? So
you were saying research. You were saying research. Sorry.
Yeah. I normally love doing research. This was horrible because it's such a frightening, depressing, depraved world. The world of like underground dogfighting. It's really, really horrible stuff. But of course, you're writing a horror story, and horror is all about diving into this ugly stuff and bringing it to the surface so that you can deal with it. Because of course, when you bring these things to the surface, they're easier to deal with than when they're buried and submerged. But yeah, I don't want to give anything away. But it's about the night that Finch lost his father to a revenant named Mr. Crispy, and this was it was a real pleasure to write. I had 6 pages. I'm somebody that generally does better when I'm in a confined framework, and Adam was just an absolute pleasure and a joy to work with. He's somebody who gets it that we're supposed to be having fun doing this stuff, okay? Yeah. And if you're not having fun while you're making comics, you're doing something wrong. And so I'd write a little and I'd bounce the ball to him. He would make some suggestions, bounce the ball back to me, and we were just bouncing the ball back and forth until it turned out in a way that we were both happy with.
I would agree. It's an awesome ride, and you can see here this is one of the pages from his story. I don't want to give it away, but back to seeing the line art. This is some of that amazing art, and this is Finch in that dogfighting arena on the Mexican border. But I will bounce the screen back to you.
The line art for this is it's a different penciler, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a different penciler. This is a guy named Maxi Dallo, Argentinian guy, and because what I wanted to do with the dossier stories, because Jason and I did the original, the 88 pages, but I wanted to have 4 different writers and 4 different artists do the other pages, right? So that way the book wasn't just my voice on the world of the Kill Journal, right? It wasn't just Jason's lines. There could be 4 other sets of lines and 4 other sets of words, and colors as well. And so it's kind of cool that the experience when you get the book, you're going to be seeing essentially, 5 writers, 5 artists, 5 colorists. I have the lovely task of lettering it all, but it will be all the same, all the same universe and all these same characters. And I think that that's really an exciting thing. I love that. I was just reading Headlopper in the 3rd volume of that. I just love that book by Andrew MacLean. And like the last section of that were these stories written and drawn by other people. And it was just like, wow, what a fun way after you've taken the ride. It's not fun up top, right? You will need to bake in what the original is, right? But then it's fun at the end to be like, oh, that's fun to see it as this different artist interpretation and get a little flavor of it. I know sometimes people don't love it when the whole main story changes to a new artist, but to get a flavor of what it was like with these other people. So
Right. And the different artists capture their different worlds because, of course, they all come from different worlds, and every person is themselves sort of their own world. Let's face it. And and man, wow, it's just the art's just absolutely phenomenal.
I really it's one of the great pleasures of that I found. Creating comic books, and my comic book in particular, is to see different artists tackle characters that are already like fully fleshed,
Right.
and how they approach it in a completely different way. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
also like whether I allow them to go, like, because there's a fine balance that you have to like have, where if they go too far, then you lose the spirit of the character. So you have to pull them back, rein them back in. But it's always fun to see their, like, for example, the way Marco McCagney interpreted Cletus it's very idiosyncratic to his style, you know what I mean? But it retained totally the soul of and the spirit of the character. And that's just great to see, man. It's somehow it feels like it gives it a stamp of authority to the characters, and it feels like it's more of a fully fleshed thing when you see different artists tackle them. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Absolutely, yeah. And it's different artists have different approaches. You don't want them necessarily imitating the artist that went before them, but yeah, of course, you want the character to be recognizable. That's the most important thing, but also that they have that proper spirit, as you said. Yeah.
Well, let's give this video a watch.
Oh hell yeah.
My name is Sydney Valentine, and I'm a survivor. A revenant slaughtered everyone I love, including my daughter. They're evil spirits, back from the dead, who wield machetes and tire irons, and a bullet to the head won't stop them. After one butchered his congregation, St. George claims God called him to hunt the revenants, and he's recruiting survivors to join him. Most won't make it out alive, but at least they're taking a stand. God has his book of life, and St. George has his kill journal.
Oh man, dude, I have to tell you, that's one of the best. Even though it's small and short, that's one of the most effective trailers I've seen.
Oh, most definitely.
Voice acting is tremendous. The how did you do that animation, man?
It's all in After Effects. So I just took the layered PSD files and reassembled them in After Effects. Right, removed backgrounds, animated the motion, took like the paper.
But did you?
I know. So I have a guy who works with me. His name's Andrew Jewell. He's an animator, works with me in TV, and I give him the files. And so what I usually do is I map them out. I build an animatic for him, and then he makes it really sing. Right.
Wow, looks fantastic.
Yeah, it does.
Thank you. Yeah, I think because I feel like sometimes with an animated video, especially because I'll use that video to run on Facebook ads, I'll use it to run on Instagram, I'll use it to run on Twitter, I'll use it to run a lot of places. A shorter, punchier something is what really I think is meaningful.
Yeah.
You don't need to, like, I don't think there's different schools of thought. For example, what's the name of the Graveyard Shift creator? I can't believe it. John Malin. John Malin has this theory that you need like a talking head, like, hi, my name's Rob Muerto, and this is why you need to buy my book. And, right?
Yeah, yep. I disagree with him on that.
Yeah, I think this is more than enough, man. Just like how big was this? Like 30 seconds?
Yeah, it's 30 seconds, and that's I feel like in that amount of time, like 30 seconds with an end tag, right, to say back now. And I feel like that I agree with you, because I feel like here's what I came to find out the 8th. 75% of the people who bought the 8th of all those backers did it on this.
Mm-hmm.
They did not do it on their computer. They bought it from their phone.
Wow,
interesting.
And they bought it in cash because I rigged it up to Facebook analytics and all this stuff, so I could just see what was happening. And you get really detailed. You can see whether people bought it on their phone versus their computer.
That's insane.
And so what you realize is this is actually how people are interfacing with your campaign. So when I build the campaign page, I actually build it for my phone.
Wow.
first is
That's
the priority.
interesting.
Because it's I experienced that too as I was directing TV. Oftentimes, you get this haunting realization when you realize, wait, my TV show, 64% of the fans watched it on their phone, and it makes you start to think, I'm actually gonna, when I'm in the edit bay, I want a phone. I would rig a phone beside the monitor, and it would play out to a phone, so that I could see it on the phone, because I realized more than half the audience was going to experience it like this. And so I realized, so when you think about it, and this is just my side, obviously John Mayo is very successful and great at what he does, but with my campaigns, I don't have his legacy. I'm building in new fans and new people.
Exactly.
And so if you're on this, you're gonna watch something that's 30 seconds, and it's flashy and it's fun and it's animated. You're more, you're likely to hook somebody. If I, have a talking head and it slows down, and they don't know me, it's unlikely that they're going to stick around.
Right.
So that's kind of where I sort of built my campaign, is from the idea that this is actually where they buy it, is on this thing.
I mean, but listen, there's obviously it's not like a super rule that everybody needs to abide by, but there's different ways to make appealing trailers, I feel. But this to me speaks to me a lot, and I think if I'd probably look into doing something but Tales from the Classroom, I don't know. I don't know if it makes sense, because it's got more of it was conceived as more of like a Saturday morning cartoon sort of vibe,
But here's the thing: there's no reason why you can't do both. There's no reason why you can't have the 30-second trailer, and the minute and a half, 2 minute, 3 minute trailer, right?
Yeah.
Because not everybody's going to want to sit through a 2.5 minute, 3 minute trailer, right? Or especially a 5 minute trailer. But especially if people are watching stuff on their phone. And Adam, I hope you just realized, brother, you just gave the entire crowdfunding community some very, very useful information. All right?
King Toad, you rock.
Hell yeah.
Thank you, Rock10. Thank you, dude.
What up, Roddy?
That's the facts that you kind of you really learn, and I think that this is a very homegrown world, a very homegrown world that we're in. But if you can add some kind of grown up analytics to it, then you can be more effective, right? Because I feel like in the world of indie comics, the largest fan base for comic books do not go to comic book shops. They are not collecting X-Men, and they're not collecting the Avengers. There's a far, far, far bigger crowd of humans who don't go to their local comic shop. Right. And so if we can connect to that crowd and build a new world of fans, all the better, right? Versus trying to if you're sitting next to Batman, that's hard. But if you're sitting next to a guy who's never actually going into the store, never looking at Batman in the first place, it's a different, you can really build something, because you're like, oh, this guy, because I think about my backers on the 8th, probably about 30-40% of them, they don't read graphic novels. Right. They just look at it, I'll try this one out,
You just said it. That's why we've been saying that we're doing graphic novels more than comics. We should treat them as such.
That's right. Because a lot more people read books than read comic books, and a lot more people, and if you can give somebody a graphic novel, especially because, somebody doesn't, if you're not somebody who goes to the comic book shop, you don't want to hang on to a single floppy. It's hard. That's not really what your thing is. You don't have a box for it. What do you do with it afterwards?
Right.
So I think that was kind of my thought it's like, I can't beat the big two. I can't win in the comic shop, but I can win in places where they aren't in a comic shop. At least that's what I thought.
In the bookstores.
Yep.
Sure. Absolutely.
That's what we've been talking about. Simon talks about this all the time. That if we follow a European model, like the French model, they produce like once a year, you get this really beautiful hardcover book that's so beautifully written and illustrated. Well, it's worthy of that prestige format. Sorry, Simon, you were saying?
And there's also the aspect of you don't have to deal with just one distribution. There's more than one distributor for novels and graphic novels, and you can hit all the bookstores, the libraries. You can hit the Walmart without having to have a special deal with Walmart. You deal with a book distributor. We're doing graphic novels.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's the future.
We need to have a different approach. That's what we've been saying since the start of LCG. Is that we reached a point where we need to reassess the business model. It was burned down by the marketing with the preview and the LCS. They kind of shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, except at this path, there's no one path to glory. Because if we all try to do the same things, a lot of us are going to fail.
No.
Like for instance, if I was going to try and crowdfund a graphic novel, right, and then just do a one-off campaign to try and crowdfund the graphic novel, I'm not going to generate enough money to pay for it. Because I don't have the fan base to pay for a whole graphic novel before it's created. So I have to do what I can afford to do, which is create them as one-off floppies, individual chapters, because that's all I can afford to do out of pocket. That's what I can guarantee will happen.
That's what we're saying. We're not saying it's not a good plan. We're saying that we need to be able to think differently. We can't just abide by that old plan. We need to be able to expand the market, the approach, the marketing, the reach. You have look, I'm not saying comics are done. It's like there's a market for it. You approach it like with a floppy. Good, it's a great plan. Keep on going. We need multiple different plans. People need to have different approach to marketing so we can reach outside. We cannot just put all our eggs in one basket.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I like what Drew's saying. I like what Drew's saying, though. Drew is saying there's a lot of ways to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what works for Drew. And there's still plenty of people who read floppies, and it's still a great arena to be in. And I know I've read his, and I'm going to be back to his next one. So I think there's a lot of ways to do it, and mine is just my Bible, if you will, my vision of how to make it happen. But
and we all learn from each other too. That's one of the things I really love about this community is that a lot of us will sometimes try something different and it won't work or it will work. And then we share that information, like the information that you just shared about the majority of your backers backing on their phones. That never even would have occurred to me. So now that's in fact,
the time of day they back it most often?
Yeah.
In the morning. And I was talking to Facebook about it. I said, why? It's because people most often do in the morning in bed. If they roll over and do this, they check their phone, they check their Instagram. And while lying in bed on their phone in the morning, is when they most often buy it. Right?
That's when we need to get them. That's when they're most vulnerable.
Yeah, so that's why I realized I got to get things out early. So people are there. Anyways.
Interesting. Yeah. No, this is great. This is great information. And of course, this is such a it's a world that keeps changing. It's a market that keeps changing. Who knows what this is going to be in a year, 2 years, 5 years, but I think it's the beginning of something beautiful. And what it's going to morph into, I don't think any of us can tell for sure. But of course, I think it's going to be something beautiful.
I think what we're seeing is the baby steps of what would be the alternative to what the subscription service used to be. There'll probably still be the subscription model may actually come back with when some of us are successful enough to where we don't need crowdfunding anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? But then here's the thing: is like by having this community, by having these sources to crowdfund, what we are able to do is we're able to reach out to new people who are not there. We can interact with this. We can get this done, and then what we do is we can collect emails and collect addresses, and then we have a base of fans that we can continue to market to, and that has to grow over time. Obviously, you have to keep plugging away at it, but that is the most valuable piece of that you get out of this, because there's nothing more successful long term than having the resources to market to, because you don't have to start fresh every time. You have a captive audience that you can hit. You have 100 people, 200 people, 600 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people. Next thing you know, you got 100,000 people. You send out 100,000 people. If you got a 2% turn off on that, that's not bad at 100,000. You know what I mean? That's 2,000.
It's all about building a following, building an audience. And then, of course, what's great is once we have an audience, then we can, introduce our audience to other creators. and they can discover new people, and it just grows and it grows and it grows and it builds, and it's
Which
like
is-
I said,
which is
it's
what
gonna
we
be a
do.
beautiful thing.
Which is the purpose of this show.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Hell
And-
yeah.
And for people who are confused that we are doing horror talk and we are featuring comics, and then obviously we're all comic creators, and then we actually have a comic show that features comics, you know what I mean? Which is going to confuse people because obviously we're going to have as much Halloween themed stuff as we can come up with this month. So it's people can be like, oh, which is which? But this is for our Halloween. This is our comics horror talk. So you guys understand that we wanted this to be a night dedicated to horror comics, monster comics, horror themed stuff. And we have some great creators here. Rob and Adam are both great creators, and I consider them friends. So who better to have these guys on tonight? You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And the Frankenstein monster approves.
Nice.
Yes. So anything else you guys want to hit point wise? Let's
No. I think we bored people enough. I think we've said that. We've ruined your evening. So
you may have put a dent in their wallet or their bank account, because people are going to. Oh, dude, you got to talk about the mask. Do you want to talk about the mask?
Well, yeah. You're gonna save it till you launch, or do you want to? Yeah.
All right, everybody. Just delete that from your memory. You didn't hear that.
Well, no, it has been teased before on on the show. We have shown it, but he wants it to be a surprise. So let's just.
Well, here's the thing: if you back at day one, your name gets entered into a drawing, and somebody's going to win one. You can also buy them in the campaign, but I'm going to give away a free one tomorrow night. I gave away a free one during the pre-launch. And it was awesome. It went to a guy who'd backed the 8th and was on the mailing list for this. So I'll leave it at that. But if you scroll down on the page you're at there, Drew, you'll see a nice fine picture of it. And Rob, you were saying something there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about because I've been thinking, obviously this sort of like skeleton / ice. It's not an ice hockey mask in this case, but this sort of like mask archetype that started with Jason. I'm assuming it started there. Maybe
it started with Michael Myers.
Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Halloween.
Yeah, it was a William Shatner mask, actually, a William Shatner Captain Kirk mask, and
melted in the sun.
Well, yeah, and spray painted with matte. They were going to paint over it. I think they were going to paint it black or something like that. And then Carpenter saw that, like, what it looked like, just all white, and he was like, "That's it."
But we've seen it on Friday the 13th. We saw it in Splatterhouse. You remember Splatterhouse?
Yeah. The hockey mask in Friday the 13th didn't come actually until the 3rd movie in this series.
Oh, okay.
That's correct. Yeah. Burlap sack for the first.
Yes.
A little bit of trivia.
The second one, yeah.
But
because in the first one, it wasn't even Jason; it was his mother.
It was his mother. That's right.
Yeah.
But the reason I ask is
kill her, mommy.
I was thinking of including, like Tales from the Classroom has all sorts of different monsters, and as an homage to that thing, just a kid with with a school bag, with like a little backpack, and then that mask, the ice hockey mask. What are the implications in terms of legal, business? Did you look into that with doing this mask or no?
Yeah. See, as far as so here's the secret sauce. If you make something for people under 12, you have a lot of complications. Or if you classify it as a toy, this is not classified as a toy or deemed for kids under 12. So this is classified as an art piece or a sculpture because it's not. You know what I mean? It's a quite an expensive piece, and it's not really. It's made out of this fiberglass resin. It's this beautiful movie quality piece. So it's not. You wouldn't classify it as a toy. Or worthy of people 12 and under, because then you need toy testing and et cetera, et cetera.
See, so you just gave me that advice. If I had asked my copyright lawyer, that would have been like $100 just for him to say that. So very valuable advice,
Well,
yeah,
also, go ahead, Adam.
No, it's just if you're targeting for kids and intentionally targeting kids is where you could get into real trouble if it has no if you haven't done proper, you have to send it to a company that have them here in Los Angeles, New York, all over the world to get a safety testing. And you have to get a label, and it goes in the packaging. But that's not where we're at.
Right. This is not something that a child that's designed for a child to play with, or even somebody to wear as a mask. This is something you put on your wall.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you can certainly wear it as a mask. It's an effective mask. It totally works, but it's being deemed. Yeah, it's got padding in it, and it's got ventilation.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
A lot of people who make figurines or toys that they call them, that they do is they call them collectibles. So it changes it as the aspect too. When something's a collectible, it's no longer considered to play with. You know what I mean? So that also.
Right.
Yeah. That's a big deal. Yeah.
It looks amazing, man, and it's such a cool. And I think it's a really ingenious way of getting people to back the campaign on day one, which I've been sort of mulling in my head as well. Like, what am I going to come up with in order to incentivize people to back on day one? Because apparently, first day like launches, like the first days of the campaign are very indicative of how the rest of the campaign unfolds. So it's important to have like a strong first day. So
yeah, and that's a relatively new thing too. That's one of the things about the scene is it's like the metric keeps changing, right? So like the strong opening day, that didn't used to be a thing. Nope. Now it's a thing.
Well, it's because what happens is
like Hollywood, where like the
exactly
the weekend box office is
right. It's what it's all about.
And there's two factors in that. One is that because I use BackerKit, and so they tell you all this detail. You have to pay money, but they tell you is what it is because Indiegogo and Kickstarter, whichever one you're on, uses an algorithm, right? And something that's really selling well, it just goes to the top of the pile. It's also true on Google, right? So if your video has been watched hundreds of times, it's been on podcasts, it's been mentioned lots of places, it just goes to the top of the search section. So there's more momentum behind it, and also it creates a fervor around it. Oh man, it's being so successful, everybody's jumping on. I got to get on. That triggers this FOMO feeling.
Yeah, the fervor he's talking about is a big factor because it's like a popularity contest. If your book is doing really well, everybody's all like, oh, I want some of that by contact. You know what I mean? Exactly. It's one of those things where like if and then it trickles across, because like if somebody's book starts booming, and they get like 10K in the first day, then the other bigger creators are going to notice it, and they're going to also want to share it and that kind of stuff, because they're going to want to
get on the radar.
They want to catch some of the momentum that comes from that, because I mean if
this is the cool thing to be a part of. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They want the positive association. That's what it is.
Exactly. Yeah. And you can't tell me that mask isn't just wicked bitching cool. It's just badass, man. I love it to pieces.
I'm still waiting for that first day, to happen. So it's
yeah, man.
I'm not sure what it is. It could be that's the time of year right now, but other people launching their books and having great. Maybe it's that I'm launching too many Captain Loves for the community to handle at one period of time, because I've done 3 campaigns in the launched 3 campaigns in a time of a year. I'm gonna have to sit down and figure out what the issue is, because I was not really like counting on. I mean, I can do it; it's gonna hurt, but I wasn't really counting on having to pay for everything out of pocket and then just like catch it up on the back end. But it looks like it's kind of going that way right now. I'm kind of hoping that at some point people are gonna be like, oh fuck, I didn't back cap chapter 2 yet. I need to get on that right now, and it's gonna start boom, 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 boom. But as it stands, it's moving a lot slower than chapter 1 was. So
Well, give it some time, you know. Don't forget also, right now, a lot of people are hurting for money. A lot of people, you know, it's
Yeah, I would.
it's tough times, bro.
I get it, but you know what? There's other campaigns that
I know.
you know, that are getting funded and they're getting high numbers. So it's like I can't just say, well, it's
Yeah, but
tough
it's a-
times.
it's
you know
a
what I
They're
mean?
being promoted
too.
Well,
too.
They're being
You have to think about the
promoted as a
people
new
that are
project.
promoting those. I'm
Okay,
sorry, Simon.
So it really comes. No,
They're
it really
also
it
new
comes.
creators.
Can I say this? It really comes down to something real simple. All right. There's a whole likability factor. There's a whole, you know, people want to support something. You know, okay, I understand that there's controversial aspects of Captain Love, and I'm not the most likable person. Those are factors I have to accept, and that just is what it is. And so I just go with it, and I just keep going on. So it's
There's a
cool.
lot less
I'm just
likable
gonna do
creators
I'm just gonna do the best that I can do, and I hope that people are gonna like what I'm doing. And then eventually it's gonna pay off. I'm going to get the LA Comic Con. I got my table already, and that's December 12th, 11th, 12th, 13th that weekend. And you know, hopefully I will move a lot of product and collect a lot of emails and have some momentum from that. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah, you
people
will.
will have their books. They'll have the books in their hands. It won't be about Drew. It'll be about the book. And that'll be, I think I'll be more successful when people give more care about the book than the author. So,
Well, I mean, look, dude, you can't take it as a reflection of like people not liking you. There's certain indie comics creators who do are like natural characters.
Well, no,
right,
Brian, I'm not basing it solely on that. It's like
Okay.
I've had, you know, 47 years of life, and I understand that I'm not necessarily the most likable person.
All right,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
it's
so
just, you know,
it's just one of those things. And because this is a cult of personality, right? If I was like, you know, one of those people that everybody fucking, you know, wanted to hang out with, I mean, you know, when I'm playing in rock and roll band, you know, and I'm not talking to
Drew,
anybody.
we like hanging out with you. Drew,
Yeah,
well,
that's
yes. Yeah, dude,
I'm
dude.
just without going down the road too much. I've accepted my limitations. It's cool, and I'm you guys are my friends. You know, I'm glad that you like hanging out with me. You know what I mean? It's cool. You know, if more people liked hanging out with me, I'd get a lot more invitations to live streams. Just so you know, I gotta beg to be on live streams. Most people who come here get invited. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's you know it's just real talk, people. Real talk. It just is that way. I
you're
wish
not-
it wasn't,
it's
but
not-
it is that way. You know
It's
what I mean?
the show thing is pretty much you're not the only one. It's pretty much everybody.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is, dude.
Nobody
Absolutely.
really invites me unless I go like, "Hey, can I come on your show?"
Absolutely. I always have. I always send out invites. Yeah, I mean, not invites. I always ask people politely, "Hey, like, I'm wrapping up my campaign. Do you think maybe you might have a chance to have me on? Do you know? Don't feel compelled. Don't feel feel pressured. If you don't, I'm not gonna give you the stink eye next time I see you."
And on that point, I have written everybody. And I have the people that don't DM me that have closed DMs. I've even embarrassed myself enough to comment them publicly and basically beg them for attention. I have gone down that road, and guess what? It doesn't work for me because I am not hitting that vibe with people. And it's I would love to be able to do that, but it's like I still also have to be true to who I am. You know what I mean? So
I think that's the most important thing, dude.
Always.
To be honest, it's to be yourself.
Yep.
'Cause
Yep.
As soon as you're trying to be nicer or project something else than who you actually are, it doesn't come off right, dude.
Yeah.
Yep. Always. Yeah.
You forget yourself, and you.
Yeah,
you
so
cannot
we don't
forget
need it.
yourself.
It's like I'm totally accepting of this. I accepted this a long time ago when I realized it. You know what I mean in my life. So it's okay. We don't need to do a therapy session for it. It's totally cool.
It's turning into an intervention.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
what I'm saying, man. Like, you know, I don't let my friends, like, if friends of mine want to snap on themselves, if it's a little like self-deprecating humor, I think that's cool. I think that's healthy, but I won't just stand by and watch my friends.
Well, here's the thing. It's
you know, put themselves down.
I think it's a good thing to share because there's a lot of people out there who might have the exact same kind of situation I have, and you know, and then realize, okay, well, you know what, going the same way of John Malin or going the same way of Cecil and trying all that, maybe that's not going to work for me. Maybe I got to think of another road. I got to think of another avenue. And so that when I'm cutting these roads and I'm cutting these divots, they can look at what I'm doing because it's working for me and they have the same kind of problems. It might work for them. So, you know what I mean? It's more of a solution than, you know, it's more, hopefully people learn from it and can, you know what I mean? And can do better because of the existence of it, you know? So,
All right.
And another factor.
Yeah, pave your own road. I think you're undersized. There's plenty of like creators out there that are less likable than you.
Oh, I'm not saying that's not true. I mean, yeah, I mean, there's quite a few that are less likable than me.
But they're getting exposure. Is my point. You know, there's plenty.
Well,
what's that?
They have the right connect. They have the right. They have the right connections with the right people. I mean, that always helps. You know what I mean? But we all know that we got to do this thing ourselves. We can't rely on the big four.
Paving your own road, man. I'm done with trying to like go. Hey, can I get on this guy's show? And,
yeah.
I'm totally done with that. I'm sort of like digging like the paving my own road thing and building my own fan base in a very organic fashion.
Yeah.
I'll be very appreciative if I score one of those big streams.
Simon?
I think there's
I mean, I'm done with the groveling.
Yeah.
I think there's a pride to be have of doing it yourself. Like, I want people to know me for what I'm doing. I don't want them to know me because somebody said to know me.
Right, exactly.
Like, I want that person to notice me too. Not be, you understand what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That it's something that you build yourself. It's not just because, like, oh, I used to work in the comic book industry. Now so and so is giving me a big push, and next thing you know, my campaign is like 40, 50, 100 grand, right? That it's something that you build gradually. My first campaign was I did 8K. This campaign, I might even crack 20K. It's looking possible, right? Mm-hmm. So it's something that we grow and that we build. We have a one-on-one relationship with our backers. That's a really wonderful, beautiful thing. You know, we appreciate the heck out of them, and they feel appreciated. You know, because we go out of our way to make sure that they feel appreciated.
Well, you know, luckily I know because of being able to communicate with the backers and whatnot. I know that people who are reading the book are loving it. You know what I mean?
That's what matters most.
With the rare exception who obviously doesn't like me. You know what I mean? And it's really weird because I've actually have had a few people who, you know what I mean, like were just like smashing the book for no good reason. And then it turns out later that I hear that they were talking mad shit about me before they even got their hands on the book. You know what I mean? So it's I understand that this world is like that. You know what I mean? And it just is what it is. And I mean, the book itself is great. I know that I'm a skilled writer and a skilled, you know, producer of a product. I mean, I got people like, even was it today? I got a great review about how, like, you know, it was like, you know, they were and seriously enjoyed the book and they shared it with everybody. You know what I mean? I mean, I know that's a good thing. The problem is getting from here to there is going to be a little bit more challenge for me because I don't kiss ass very well. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't, you know,
I hear you.
I don't go fluffy for people. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
So it just, you know, and I can be triggered to fucking say some really fucking mean shit if people cross the wrong path with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you do have a little bit of a temper, sir.
Yes, I do.
But you're also aware of it, and
he's
that's
working on it. And you know, one thing's fun. It's if he ever goes really like out, if you actually go, Drew, calm down.
Yeah,
he knows how to stop. That's one thing.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like the woman that founded my support group could be a real pill, you know, a real bitch on wheels. And but the great thing about her was whenever she lost her temper and she snapped at somebody, within like 30 seconds she was apologizing. You know what I mean? She was just like, you know, she'd snap at somebody and then she'd be like, "Oh shit," you know, and then she would make amends. And
we got Zaid and Bronson Gorilla in the chat wondering what the fuck happened in here.
Bronson, I know it's like turned like from a party into a funeral. What the fuck, Drew? What's
Hey,
up, Bronson?
you know what? I was
Phil?
I said I brought that out not for an intervention, not to whine. I brought
I
that out so
know.
that people who relate can feel like there's still a path for them. You know
I
what
hear you.
mean?
I hear you, brother. It's all
Because
good.
there's a lot of people out there that are getting no attention and no love, and I try to find those people
Oh,
who
it's
have
true.
who have small campaigns, who are just coming through. You know what I mean? And I try
Yeah.
to bring them in. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I go out there and I look for people who don't get attention.
No, Drew, you did that. You let me in on the very first time. You were one of the very first streams I was ever on, and I really, really appreciate it. So thank you for that, dude.
Yeah, man.
For lifting me up. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah,
That's
man.
I mean, seriously, that's why I'm doing this. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be a star. if anybody who knows me knows that I really don't want to be a star. You know what I mean? I really don't. I would rather be invisible, make music, and make comics, and that would be it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like ridiculously wealthy. Yeah, that would take that. Famous? No. That's too much of a hassle. And I'm not a narcissist, so whatever.
And I would love to be like a director of a movie versus an actor. You know what I mean? So that kind of thing. I would rather create the magic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where I live. You know what I mean? So just so everybody knows, that's me.
Magic.
Well, Drew, thank you for having me on again, dude. Thank you for having me
so
on.
I want to apologize to everybody for that digression.
No worries, dude.
We forgive you, brother.
Let's call it a Drew rant, and let's move the fuck along.
Yeah. So
works for me.
Right. So before we come, we're not going to end the stream yet because there's another book that I want to feature.
Nice mask.
Very, very, very important. And we're going to come back and we're going to go over these once more before you guys split, so everybody gets a lot of.
Hell yeah.
But there is another book. There is another book to a close friend of the show that I know I had. Wait, did I close it? Hold on a second. Damn it.
Back in a second.
I had it open, but I accidentally must have closed it. So let's just. There it is. Come on, slow ass computer. All right, so now that it is boom, and that book is Monster MD.
Yeah, boy.
Now Monster MD is by a friend of ours, Von Klaus. He is, anybody who watches Horror Talk has seen this book, knows who Von is because he's a regular.
And as we can see, his campaign is really struggling.
And for the ones that don't.
He said sarcastically.
So let's take a moment because he is at the drive-in with on a date watching Evil Dead
horror movies.
He's watching Bruce Campbell kick some ass.
Yep.
So go in the comments and go, we would have backed you if you would have been on the show. Have a great movie.
Oh man, at a drive-in too. How bitchin' cool is that?
Yeah, the question is he watching the movie or is he doing the Greg Brady?
Is it really a question? Is it really a question?
Well, Evil Dead 1, no. 2, yeah.
All right, so this book is beautiful. And we're going to play the video, and you might recognize the voice.
Almost eaten by a werewolf, seduced by a succubus, a drug deal with a vampire, charades with the Slender Man. It's all in a night's work for Dr. Wyatt Black, also known as Monster MD. Hi, I'm Von Klaus. I recently finished work on John Malin and Mark Polton's Graveyard Shift Volume 2, and I'm here to share a comic that is going to rock the indie scene with you. Monster MD is a story about Dr. Wyatt Black, a fallen from grace surgeon who's now the underground doctor to the local monsters. Coupled with his invisible surgical assistant, Heidi, he gets into hilarious and horrific misadventures in monster mending. Dr. Black wants out of the game, though. He doesn't think he has what it takes to practice cryptoecology. But when Heidi is kidnapped by his worst nightmare, the monster-killing madman that took his arm and ruined his medical career, he must depend on his paranormal patience more than he ever thought possible. Will Dr. Black be able to confront what scares him the most for the very monsters that he wants to give up on? And is Heidi hot or what under that invisibility? I've been making comics for years, guys, and it's all led up to this. My most ambitious project yet. With mind-melting art by Marco McCagney, who you may know from Zombie Tramp and Vamp Blade, colors by the incomparable Tanya Wicker, who did flawless work on The Signal, and letters by Eric the Man Weathers, letterer on Earthworm Jim. This is a high-quality indie story with heart that you do not want to miss. Not to mention, it has nearly every monster that you've ever loved from the movies. It has horror movie reference Easter eggs galore hidden throughout the book. A fully self-contained story without cliffhangers, all within 111 pages of action, comedy, horror, complex characters, and more heart than you'd expect. Even people who aren't into monsters tell me this book has everything they love in a comic. So, can I count on your help to bring this monster to life? Evil is definitely gonna need a checkup. Thanks so much for your support, guys.
Rad. I backed it.
Yeah, so did I, of course. I mean, anything monsters, I'm a sucker for. What I really loved was when Shay dressed up as Heidi for a episode of her show. And have you seen that, Adam, where she made herself invisible?
Oh, I didn't see that one. That's a shame.
Oh,
Yeah,
she wore
like
up. You gotta see that shit.
She wore like a chroma key out color and knocked it out, so she appeared transparent.
Yeah.
So this is great artwork. It's going to be a great story. If you know Vaughn, he's a very clever dude. So the writing is going to be, and I mean we've talked about the storyline. I don't want to gush too much on it, but there's a lot going on in here. I'm just breezing through the art, some of the imagery. You can see that there's a lot of character development and dynamic going on, and he hasn't given us the spoilers, so I'm excited to see where he really takes this. But the science is the poo monster, the poop jar. Wait, no, it's not. It's not a poo monster. It's what's the monster made out of?
It's a golem,
right? But the poo is because it's fertilizer. It you know what I mean? Like it somehow like kills him. You know what I mean? So that's
right. Because he's made out of earth. Yeah.
Right. It breaks him down. So
yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like there's like things like that make this story really interesting and well read and good for the thinkers. You know what I mean?
But it's a great. Aside from that, which I agree, it's such a high concept.
Incredibly high concept. It's awesome.
And this could be something that could be like a television show, or it's just
could be an anime. Literally.
Oh, most definitely.
With the theme of it, like how dark and cartoony and still mature type of theme.
Yeah.
That could make a great anime more than that.
I could see that. I could see this.
Or late. What's the name? Not Funimation. Is that it?
Yeah. Put in front of the right people. He could probably get some kind of project going. But you know what I mean. As Adam could attest, it's really hard to get from here to there. You know what I mean?
I meant Adult Swim. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, but he definitely the formula is there, and there's enough. The product is stellar.
It definitely has the right attitude of some sort of series. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. Yeah. Or some kind of. It just feels like something you could.
It feels like
too much over this, but
to me, it feels like Scooby Doo. You know what I mean? But the more haunted, scaring versions of Scooby Doo. You know what I mean? I don't know if you guys like Scooby Doo hardcore, but I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and there was virtually only Scooby Doo. So,
I know, and I hated it too. You know why I hated it? Because the monsters were never real. I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you lousy kids.
I hated that.
No. In the second iteration of the series,
cheated.
In the second iteration of the series, when they started bringing in Batman and Kiss and all those kinds of things, they had real monsters then. And then when Scrappy Doo came and they did all that, they started having real monsters. So
with Vincent Price, remember when Vincent Price came in? Did they have real monsters?
I don't know.
I'm grilling you
You
now.
know what it feels like? It feels exactly like that, what you're saying, Drew. Of like the Scooby-Doo formula, where it's like a procedural type of show where there's like a monster of the week. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, detective story.
Yeah. This feels totally like what was that Doctor something that show with that Australian actor you know,
Paul
man.
Hogan?
No, man, it was like a doctor show, not ER. It was the other big one.
Oh,
Bones?
Scrubs.
Nope, it was called Doctor something, or was it called
House. You're talking about House.
Doctor House? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, House. Yeah, House. Yeah.
Oh, so it was called House, right? Yeah. So Doctor House, but except he's like mending monsters instead of you know.
Yeah, the series was House. It was House MD was the name of the series. Yeah, House MD.
Wow.
Hey, Drew, I've got to jump off. I've got to jump to 7 o'clock. But
Yeah,
boy,
no,
thanks for having me
hear
back
you.
on and reaching out. Drew, you're one of the good guys in my camp. So whatever that is worth, you're on my good list. So thank you, bro, for your support. And Brian, it's good to see you. I'll see you tomorrow. And Rob, it's great to meet you. And
Hey, it's great to meet you. I like
book. It looks rad. I'm gonna be picking up volume 1 and 2. So just let me know when that's live. I'm on the mailing list. So
hell yeah,
it's good to meet you.
Yeah, Adam, thanks for coming and thanks for hanging out with us. We're actually going to wrap up the show anyway, so if you want to hop out, no worries. You know what I mean?
Hey, thanks so much, guys.
Yeah.
Peace out, brother. See you tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, Adam's good people. He really is, and,
Yeah,
and
he is.
he's a very talented director as well. You know what I mean?
is.
And which is why these projects come together the way they do. If you notice that he uses a lot of his industry connections and his experience as a director to pull in these elements of a project that would be more difficult than somebody who didn't have those resources. So,
man.
Yeah. So with all that said, everybody who's in the chat, we have Greg. We have Greg in here. We have Bronson Gorilla. We have Shane.
What Bronson?
Bronson.
Yeah.
Love that dude.
Oh, by the way, Greg will be on tomorrow with his project. I think that's tomorrow. I have it on my calendar. I think it's tomorrow. So you guys need to come back tomorrow night and check out an episode of Indie Comics Interviews. And and then everybody, we just want to say good night. Thank you for coming, and we will see you next time on Horror Talk.
Peace, love, and soul.
And go back to Tales from the Natverse.
Yeah, back.
Oh yeah, Tales from the Natverse now.
Natverse,
now.
Go back.
Blood Hunt is there too. So
yeah, go. Yeah, Blood Hunt's on there. That's kind of a horror movie, a little bit, sort of horror book. And
last chance to get the TPB.
Last chance for Six Gun Gorilla, and I would appreciate it if you took a moment to get yourself some love in your life.
Absolutely. Thanks, Rob.